Hi, I'm Adam Braun, co-founder and CEO of MissionU, also a New York Times bestselling author, and you are watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with Adam Braun, co-founder of MissionU, founder of Pencils of Promise, and more. Adam, thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Adam, I usually ask my guests, how'd you get this job?
I created it. I've always been somebody who believes in the transformative power of education, and at the same time, since I was really a kid, I've been an entrepreneur. I've always been starting businesses, and MissionU is really the intersection of those two things that I believe in most. The power of education to change the trajectory of an individual's life, and also the opportunity of entrepreneurship to dream of something that others might not see at that moment, but years later they'll look back on and say, oh, of course, that was so obvious.
So break down MissionU for me. Tell me kind of what's the purpose, what are some of the values, and how does it work?
Maybe I'll explain the backstory even as well. I mean, I met my wife about 5 or 6 years ago, and when I met her, she was one of those individuals who came to this country when she was 9 years old from South Africa. I had a very loving family, but they weren't in a position to be able to cover really any of the costs of college. And so she bought into college as this pathway to social mobility and a better life ahead, as we've kind of sold that dream to generations of young people. And for a long time it worked, but about a decade ago it started to really crumble in really meaningful ways as the cost skyrocketed and the value of that degree started to become in question. And so she went to college for about 2.5 years and racked up so much debt and so much financial hardship she had to leave. And she ended up, by the time I met her, she had over $100,000 of student debt without a bachelor's degree. Wow. And through her, I learned that student debt is the only debt in the United States that cannot be discharged through bankruptcy. The only type, which is astounding.
You have to literally die.
And not only that, if you die, because your next of kin usually has to co-sign on your loans, if you come from working class families, they will go after your next of kin. So it's crazy.
Awesome. Thank you, schools of America, including mine.
Right. So, I learned about how broken the system was, and I started doing an insane amount of research and conversations and reading, and it just became clear to me that the construct of a bachelor's degree, I actually believe is doing more harm than good right now in our society. And you have all of these young people that are being funneled into this one pathway that they're not realizing for some will work, but I think for the majority is not a great pathway for them. There's other more relevant educational experiences that they can go on, in particular those that are more connected to the passions that they might have, the skills that they need to enter the workforce, and without taking on insane amounts of debt. So MissionU is a one-year college alternative for the 21st century, and our focus is really preparing students for the jobs of today and tomorrow debt-free. So when you get into MissionU, we actually charge no tuition upfront at all. It's a debt-free program. Instead, we invest in you for a full year because we think institutions of higher education should invest in students rather than vice versa. And at the end of that year, if and only if you end up securing a well-paying job, meaning $50,000 or more, you contribute about 15% of your income back to the program for 3 years, and it's also capped so that you don't have to pay a crazy amount if you end up making tons and tons of money.
If you could pick 3 character traits of, these 3 ingredients, if you could just pick 3 to be successful, what would you say they are? What should we be focusing on?
First is integrity. I really believe integrity is the currency that buys trust. If you don't have integrity in your everyday operations, which is primarily when people aren't watching, like that's when integrity most manifests, is when no one's actually holding you accountable, then you're not going to really be successful down the line because it will come back to bite you in the butt. Integrity first, ambition second, and the third is work ethic. Ambition is the desire to get somewhere, right? I mean, seeing yourself in a position that others don't see you, but the work ethic and the willingness to put in those extra hours, and not just hours for the sake of hours, but spending time smartly. Being willing to lay out your day and say, what are the 3 biggest priorities that will move the needle for me today? And then doing those first 3 things at the beginning of your day, the tough, the hard, scary stuff. That's part of the work ethic that I'm describing, because there's people that can grind their wheels and do all the easy, non-scary stuff, but I find the people that are most successful, they possess that combination of integrity, ambition, and a really focused and diligent but smart work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe those 3 traits are like a muscle. If you're weak, you could practice. I play sports too, and one of the things my coaches always said throughout the years is you can't teach heart.
Yeah.
And in some way, those 3 things are connected to heart, aren't they?
I think they are. Ambition, integrity certainly is. I think smart work ethic definitely is probably the most. Ambition, I genuinely believe, for some people, they're kind of born with it, right? I mean, you hear these incredible stories. I mean, Usain Bolt, right? I mean, where that guy came from, he had some level of innate ambition. But at the same time, there's all these studies that demonstrate that we become the expectations, not only that we hold ourselves accountable to, but that others set for us. And so I think people, at all stages in their life, if they can surround themselves with others who really believe that they have greatness ahead, or that they can achieve something that they don't even see for themselves, that ambition piece doesn't just have to be the innate heart. It can really be developed and facilitated either internally yourself or by virtue of those that really believe in you. So we actually start the development of our curriculum with our employer partners. So we've approached many of the leading companies. We've had hundreds of conversations with the people on the front lines of hiring, and we really ask them, what are they looking for out of students? And so our employer partners include companies like Spotify, Lyft, Warby Parker, Uber, Harry's, Casper, Birchbox, on down the line. So really the dream companies that almost every millennial that I speak to wants to work for. And they deeply advise us in meaningful ways on our curriculum so we can calibrate it around not only their needs, but the needs of the broader industries. And then in return, we actually give them early access to our top graduates to consider them for roles. Especially early on in Pencils of Promise, I tried to cover up any potential failures or personal weaknesses. I developed this incredible board of directors and all these esteemed people across a bunch of industries were really focusing their time, their energy, their personal capital into this organization and me as CEO, and I was pretty young at the time. And I felt like I can't show them the things I'm bad at. At the time, I was bad at asking people for money. I was really, 3 years at Pencils of Promise, I never made an outright ask. I never sat in front of somebody and said, can you contribute $1,000 to Pencils of Promise? I'd always paint this vision and say, if you want to contribute, please do so. But the truth is, one, I was afraid of the rejection of somebody saying no, because I would have felt like they were rejecting me, not just supporting these kids. And I was kind of bringing my own emotions into what was a really important part of my job as CEO, was to be an effective fundraiser. And eventually I just put it all on the table and I said, we're growing at a size where for us to continue to accelerate at this pace, I need to be a better fundraiser, and I'm scared of it. And I need you guys to help me get there. And I presented a course that was taught by the leading fundraiser in the country that I had been recommended for and received a grant towards. And I said, can we invest in sending me to this thing? And rather than running away and saying, oh no, this guy's not the right CEO, they really ran towards me. And they said, absolutely, we should be spending our time and your time really, 2 weekends participating in this. And it was absolutely transformational for me. And so, certainly I think there have been periods where I've failed at being willing to display my vulnerability, but every time I've done it, when I display that vulnerability, the results have been incredible, and so now I'm just a huge believer in it. Yeah, I can't think of a single time in business in general, whether it's running a nonprofit, whether it's running a venture-backed company that's a public benefit corporation, a B Corp like MissionU, where somebody said no, and I didn't think, okay, that's just a deferred yes. If somebody says no to me, and I really believe that there's an opportunity ahead, maybe in that one instance, it's not the best fit, but the end goal of getting them involved in some capacity or finding the right opportunity is certainly still on the horizon in my mind, always. When people ask me what are we looking for in students at MissionU, that's actually one of the character traits we look for, is resilience. Part of our admissions, we actually have very challenging questions that anybody can figure out if they just Google on the internet, and our entire admissions process is kind of open book. You can use the internet, but that trait that you're describing is actually one of the most, I would say, essential indicators of someone who's going to find career success, and so that is the type of thing that we really value.